So if you've ever wondered whether or not your neck pain may be coming from something outside your neck, then you need to watch this video because I'm going to talk about exactly how your shoulders might actually be causing your neck pain. Hi, I'm Trevor Chikuti, CEO of SpineWise, and today I really want to talk to you about how your shoulders may be contributing to your neck pain. But if you know you've already got an issue and you just want to get some advice or maybe some help or have a chat to somebody about maybe something else that you could do to help your neck pain, then just send me a message or comment below and I'll get you some information and get you some help. But for all those who want to watch through it, what I want to do is talk to you about exactly how your shoulder may be contributing to your neck pain, because these two are often commonly missed, and we see this in practice all the time in our office where people coming in with chronic neck pain and all they've actually ever had treated is their neck and nothing beyond that might actually be contributing to that. And we see tons of different things that contribute to neck pain, from foot function to knee function, pelvic and lower back function, shoulder function. There's tons of different things that contribute to neck pain. But the one I really want to talk to you about today more than anything is how your shoulder may be contributing to your neck pain. So before we get into that, let me give you a little breakdown of how this anatomy works and why this is really so important and how these things are so integral to one another. So we look at us from behind here. What we really see is our head here. This is our spine coming down the side here, and our scapula, our shoulder blades, with our arms coming down here. So I've drawn a really simplistic image for you to give you just a really simple understanding of what's going on. The key muscle I want to talk to you about today is the one that goes from the base of your neck onto the tip of your shoulder blade. It goes right into the corner of your shoulder blade, and it's a really, really critical muscle. It's critical for a couple of reasons. Number one, it actually stabilizes and helps support the neck itself. So it allows you to bend from side to side and allows you to, even to some extent, to rotate your neck. The second thing it does is it helps stabilize and elevate your shoulder blade. So it actually plays a really, really critical part of movement within the shoulder complex. So when we look at the shoulder complex, it's a very, very uniquely designed complex. The reason for it is it's very, very hard to get a joint to have the level of mobility we need in our arms to move in every direction. If we were to just have a straight surface and a ball that rolls over the top of it, we'd be able to get that movement that we required, but then it will be so delicate that the slightest blow might dislocate it. If we have a full socket that gives us support, and now we have our ball in there, now the problem is it will actually limit our movement and not allow us to get the full range that we are looking for. So the way the brain and the body gets around it is by having kind of like a several joint complex thing work at the same time. So off our shoulder blade, off the end of it, we have our socket that sits like that, and the shoulder, the actual arm, sits in that, just as we spoke about before. But what the body actually does is when you first start bringing your arm out, it actually keeps your shoulder blade stiff and doesn't allow it to move. So you get this action occurring, so this upward action. Then when it gets to that area, to allow it then to go from here up into this motion there, it actually lets go of the shoulder blade of the scapula and causes it to move. So what we have is this movement followed by this movement. So initially it's just purely the arm, and then the shoulder blade lets go and moves with the arm, which allows us to have that range of motion we require. So this is actually quite a complex neurological mechanism that actually drives all of that. And whilst there's a lot of different muscles that are involved in it, one of the big muscles that's actually involved in that mechanism is our Levator SCAP, the one we were just talking about before. But how does it influence both things? Well, as we said, not only does it help stabilize and move the shoulder blade, it also helps stabilize the base of our neck and allows us to rotate. So when we start talking about changes in the shoulder and instability of the scapula coming as a result of Levator SCAP, it's also gonna actually impede the neck itself. So we can have a problem in our shoulder or from the shoulder that you may only notice or you may not notice at all, which is actually contributing to the problems and dysfunction within our neck. And one of the biggest reasons that we see this occur in our office is these things called arthrogenic reflexes. So arthrogenic reflexes are pretty well established now in the literature, and this is why muscles switch off under certain circumstances. So for instance, we see somebody, if they do an ACL, so they tear or rupture an ACL, then what tends to happen is they tend to get wasting of the quad because the quad turns off completely in order to protect the knee from any further damage. So there's a whole lot of these patterns that occur during our normal process of living from day to day as we get injured and as we irritate joints and the like. So one of the big things that we see with arthrogenic reflexes when it comes to this mechanism, and this is just our observation, is that when we start getting changes to ligament function and irritation around the AC joint, which is that joint right at the very tip of your shoulder, that point there, it tends to create an arthrogenic reflex which tends to inhibit or turn off that levator SCAP. And that does two things. Number one is it creates instability around that shoulder complex as the scapula starts becoming unstable, not having these proper support mechanisms working again. And the second thing is it seems to not provide support for the neck as effectively as it should, like we spoke about before. So this is one of the common reasons that we see people developing neck pain on a chronic basis that doesn't respond to treatment or doesn't respond for a long period of time. So only short benefits with people who have neck pain. The other big one that's a real important thing with this is a lack of support, especially from pillows. So when we have a lack of support, two things happens. Number one, we tend to shrug the shoulder up through the night. So because we're not getting support from the pillow, we tend to do this type of thing. And as we do this type of thing, to fill that space, that little void where the pillow should be, we don't get enough support there. That constant contraction, that constant elevation is once again done by the levator SCAP. And this is a common reason as well why people wake up in the morning with that stiff neck. Now that one little stiff neck that you get and you just can't move your neck in the morning, you can't turn or anything. And this is a common reason for this as well. The other reason this lack of support is important is because it comes back to our arthrogenic reflex patterns. So that whole video on this, you can catch this a couple of weeks ago, a whole video on the importance of pillow supports with these reflexes. But basically, if you've got your head here, neck, and this is your shoulders coming through here, you have a pillow that sits this way. If we don't have enough support in this area here, then the neck starts to drop down and the weight from this area here gets dissipated between the head and the shoulder complex, creating irritation on that AC joint, which can often be a common cause of these arthrogenic reflex patterns. Again, creating a levator SCAP problem and again, creating that issue with our neck. The other one that we often see that's a common cause for this type of pattern are contact injuries. So this is something we see with people who are playing sports like a rugby league or rugby union, soccer sometimes, and AFL, where they're getting blows to the shoulder itself, where their one shoulder's hitting another shoulder, and the net result is that we're getting translation occurring at the AC joint, once again irritating the ligaments through there and creating problems with our levator SCAP muscle. So these are some common reasons why we often see, or one of the common reasons I should say, we often see that neck problems don't actually start or involve the neck itself. It can be from a completely different structure. So I wrote a whole article up on this on our blog earlier this week. So if you want to jump on, have a look, have a read of it. We go through this in a bit more details and give you some tests that you can do to see whether this may or may not be your problem with your neck as well. But remember that just because you've got pain in your neck doesn't necessarily mean that the neck is the cause of your problem either. There's tons of different things that can contribute to it and create more problems for you that have nothing to do with your neck at all. Anyway guys, that's it for me for today. If you have any questions or you want to know more about, or if you just want to get some help even, just send me a message or post up below and I'll get you some information and I'll give you whatever help that I can to get you going again. But just remember guys, it's always about adding years to your life, not necessarily a life to your years.